Hey, good afternoon, folks. Now, I had no intention whatsoever to make this video until I realized that the comment I made on a video about the debacle surrounding the up-and-coming Netflix documentary Cleopatra, but her being depicted as a black woman, was removed. I suspect it was removed. Now, I didn't say anything inflammatory about anybody. I referenced the N word, but I use a load of stars at the, apart from the N and the R at the end. So I don't think that's enough to flag up a removal. This is what I suspect. Anyway, so I thought, well, you don't shut me up that easy. So I thought, you know what? I'm going to speak what I wrote. Anyway, so first of all, for the record, to my knowledge, the historical Cleopatra wasn't black African, or wasn't black. Okay, so let's clear that up straight away, right? So I was leaving a comment in reference to my previous video where I spoke about the confusion with the word black, because as I said in my earlier video, Cleopatra outrage, oops, that's the name of the video on my channel. I said that when you say black person to the average person, especially in the West, they visualize one type of African type, which is a West African, such as myself. Even though I was born in the UK, my parents are from the Caribbean, but I am of West African stock. So, so this is where all the confusion comes now. So, thanks to a Somali who corrected me, and they stated that, you know, the word black is really a European concept with racist connotations. Really, the correct terminology should be African, because Africa is a huge continent and it has a diverse phenotype. You know, it's I think it's the oldest place of mankind, so it has the highest variations of phenotypes, as such, from really, really dark to reddish brown, which I'm going to get to the reddish brown in a minute, and from tribes with slinty eyes, and pygmies, and the Neolithites who are really, really dark and so forth, and Africans with European features and so forth. So hence the word African should be really used instead of the word black. So here is where the modern Egyptians tend to fall into that trap. When they hear the word black, they're thinking West African, when the ancient Egyptians or ancient Kemetu and Nubians were of East African stock. They were East African, okay? But the word black screws it all up because they're thinking of the typical American and West African. So I was having an exchange with someone regarding the reddish brown features, reddish brown skin tone. And I pointed out to them, well, look, even though they pointed out that there's reddish brown people in Saudi Arabia and Yemen and so forth, I said, but you've proved my point regarding Hollywood. Hollywood has never, ever featured an ancient Egyptian as the reddish brown skin tone that you see all over the temples and all over the paintings on the wall, as well as dark brown. They've never done that. They have only featured one type of ancient Egyptian, if you like, which would be the Araby or sort of Mediterranean type, or Semitic type, which is a tad dishonest, considering there's so many reddish brown representation on the walls. And my theory, personal theory behind that, is the reddish brown depiction would be quote unquote too black, especially for the Western world. Especially the further back in the past you go, the more of a controversy it will cause, because you got to understand, when the early archaeologists discovered ancient Egypt, they had the mindset of the master race theory, and still today some people still believe the black inferiority theory. So Hollywood has fallen squarely into that with the master race mindset being pushed. So my reference to the person who was trying to make a separation between the East Africans of reddish brown and the Nubians who are dark, even though on the wall of Squay, I think it is, you got Nubians with a reddish tone as well. But let's run with a narrative. So I pointed out, well, okay, if I was to take an ancient Egyptian of reddish brown skin tone and take them to the United States of America, to the southern states, especially in the 1950s, what kind of reception do you think they would receive from the whites in the southern states? Do you think the whites would welcome them with open arms? Do you think if me and an ancient Egyptian were to go to, we wandered by mistake onto a Ku Klux Klan rally in the middle of nowhere, do you think that because I am darker or I am of West African stock that I'm going to come out worse than the ancient Egyptian? We're both going to get our ass battered, both of us. As far as the whites in the southern states of America who are racist, right? As far as they're concerned, both of us are the N-word, and they would call us, they would lynch both of us up, no problem, no problem. So my point is, in the eyes of the world, where you're East African or West African, right, you're still an N as far as Europe is concerned. Look at Meghan Markle, who's married to Prince Harry, the outcry she caused and how light-skinned she is, but she was still too black. You see what I'm saying? And let's come to reddish brown, famous people with a reddish brown skin tone. Mike Tyson, Jamie Foxx, Jada Pinkett, let me see, The Rock, Dwayne Johnson, Will Smith. They are not East Africans, none of them. So you see my point? My point is, it's not only East Africa that has that reddish skin tone. Tribes in South Africa with the slinty eyes, they have that reddish skin tone. You see what I'm saying? So this is the point I was making in terms of replacing the word black with African, because the word black, it just sets the wrong image straight away in people's head. You see what I mean? So if I'm going to refer to ancient Egypt and Kemet and I say African, then I would just say East African, of East African stock. Bam, clears up the whole situation. But if I say ancient Egypt was black, then immediately a lot of people think West African. You see what I'm saying? So that was the point I'm making. So, and so of course, coming back to the reception that ancient Egyptian and myself would get amongst the racist whites. Okay, please don't think that I'm putting this on all white people, but of course not by a long way, I am not that stupid to put that on all black people. There are bad white people and there are bad black African people. There are bad Asian people. There's a shit person in every nation and every way. So I don't think I'm putting this on all white people, not for a minute, or all European, shall I say, not for 1 minute. And same with the Arab stock as well. I am aware of the racism towards Africans in the Arab world, hence the word Abid. I know there's a disdain for the African, be it East African, be it South African, be it West African, and despite no matter what they're gonna preach about Muhammad and Islam being a religion of peace, they still have that animosity towards Africans. But this does not apply to all Arabs, of course not. But don't pretend for a minute that we are not aware that is there. So, you may think you're fooling us, but you ain't. Okay. So thank you very much. I hope that has cleared up a lot of confusion. So there we are. So just before I leave, again, for the record, to my knowledge, the historical Cleopatra wasn't African, as in East African or West African. She was not of that stock. Right, okay, so let's be clear on that. And I am not claiming anything in terms of ancient Kemet and so forth being of West African stock. So just make that clear. Okay, thank you very much. Okay, bye, folks. Oops, I got to correct an error I made. Sorry, Dwayne Johnson and Will Smith, they're not of reddish brown. Of course not. They're more, I mean, especially Dwayne Johnson, The Rock, they're more olive. They're more sort of the darker side of olive. So I retract Will Smith and Dwayne Johnson. But as for Jamie Foxx, Jada Pinkett, and definitely Tyson, Mike Tyson, they're definitely of the reddish brown hue. So I correct the error I made there. So thank you very much. Okay, folks, goodbye.